I'm Mike Severns, and this is the Hungry Realtor Podcast. Please like, subscribe, and follow on all the social medias, YouTube, and all that junk. And now that that's out of the way, let's get started. So we're back again for another episode, unscripted. I'm just here to talk about what's going on with Big Why right now. We're getting our lines of credit established with Eric Mauz from MB Capital Solutions. We're going to have it. We have it scheduled to interview Eric to talk about how he can help investors like me that are just getting started, that may not have a lot of cash, use business credit to do cash advances for anything that you may need. And our plan is to use these lines of credit to pull a cash advance and use it on down payments or to purchase properties outright cash and then fix them and refinance them to pay back the line of credit. The way it works is, obviously it's all in the research. We have to find a property that makes sense with the math. And if we're doing a flip, the math is simple. I'll put it in the show notes so you can see it. But you've probably, if you've done research into investing, you've probably seen this equation. It's ARV times zero point 0.7 minus repair costs and holding costs equals the max allowable offer. Now, ARV, what does that stand for? ARV is after repair value. So when you're going to buy a distressed property, it's either, distressed because it's in foreclosure or it's in disrepair or, something, you're going to buy it below the market value. Now, what do you offer? Well, you use this, if you're going to flip it, you use this equation to know what your max allowable offer is going to be. Because you're going to take that after repair value, you're going to look in the neighborhood where the home is, and you're going to look for homes that are already updated that have sold in the last 3 to 6 months, and that's going to give you your range for the after repair value, as long as the market is a stable market and not truly volatile. So once you come up with that after repair value, now you're going to take 70% of that value. And why 70%? Seems like a random number. Well, you're going to take 70% because you need to set aside at the very start, you need to pay yourself first. So you need to set aside your profit. And we're looking for 15 to 20% profit. So, Mike, why are we taking 70% if we're only looking for 15 or 20% profit? Wouldn't that be 85 or 80%? No, because there's other expenses we want to take into account at the same time we take care of our profit. So it's going to be the cost of selling. Now, if you're going to sell it yourself, which I do because I'm a real estate agent, you probably need to set aside about 5% for the costs of selling. So this is going to be things like transfer tax, title fees, realtor commissions. So if I'm selling it myself, I'm not going to pay myself a commission. We're just going to pay the buyer's agent. We're going to pay the buyer's agents 2.5 or 3%, and then we're going to have 2.5% for transfer tax and closing costs, title fees. Then we have the oh shit fund. That's going to be 5 or 10%. So that's going to come out to 30%. So there's always the contractors that come in, or maybe you do it yourself. You do the estimation for repairs, but then you couldn't see inside the wall and there's termites, or there's a sewer leak that you didn't see dripping down the wall causing all kind of mold and stuff. So you see those shows on HGTV. Don't tell me you haven't, where they always go back to the owner of the house and they're like, well, how we said we could do this? Well, we can do it, but it's going to cost 5,000 more. So that's the oh shit fund. So now we're at ARV times 0.7, that's the 70%. And once you have that number, now you have to subtract how much the repairs are going to be and how much it costs to actually hold the property, because you're going to have to pay things like real estate taxes, utilities, and depending on your crew, it may take you 6 months to flip a house. It may take you 6 weeks. I've seen crews that have really gone in and renovated an entire house in 5 to 6 weeks. These are experienced good crews led by people that can really stay on top of them and have good planning and they have their systems in place. And then I've seen jobs that just never get done. Our recent interview with Damon Forte, they had problems with the township and they had a cease and desist, and it took them months and months and months to get their first flip done. But it actually worked in their favor because it was during the pandemic. The home was appreciating as it sat there. Now that's not going to happen for everybody. So you want to make sure you have your holding costs situated in your equation, so you know that if you hold it for 5 to 6 months, all the interest, the taxes, utilities are all going to be accounted for, so they don't come out of your profit number at the end. And then you want to add that to your repair costs. These are going to be things, materials, labor, for doing the renovation. Um, so you get those two numbers, you add them together, and then you subtract it from the after repair value that was multiplied by 70%, and that gives you the max allowable offer. So if we're taking some real numbers, we have a property that the after repair value is 100,000. We're going to use 100,000 for easy math. We're going to take 70% of that. That gives us 70,000. So this property needs about $20,000 in repairs. The taxes are low, and the holding costs aren't going to be that much because we have a fairly experienced crew. So we're going to go 10,000 for holding and utilities and taxes and all that. So now we're going to subtract another $30,000 from the 70. That gives us $40,000. Now that 40,000, that's not our offer. That's the max allowable offer. So what we'll do is we'll go in at 28, 32, because on this side of things, you want to get the best possible price that you can for this property, because you don't make money when you sell. A lot of people have this misconception that you make money investing in real estate when you sell the property. You do not. You make money when you buy it. So if you can buy at the lowest possible price, then you know that you're going to make a profit. Now, with this equation, if you follow it religiously, you're going to make that 15 to 20% every time, unless you really messed up your numbers on the repair costs or you overestimated what the after repair value was going to be. Again, this isn't financial advice. This is just what we were talking about today at the meeting for Big Why and how we're going to approach it. We also talked about another strategy, wholesaling, where we find these distressed properties, put them under contract, and then we sell our position in that contract. This is called wholesaling or selling paper. Now, this is a good way for someone to break into real estate investing with little to no money. If you are good at being consistent in prospecting and you know a lot of people and you're good at communicating but you don't have the funds, this may be a good spot for you to get into to make some money and then buy an actual property yourself. A lot of people have started out this way, and what they do is they put up the signs, "We buy houses," ugly houses, wherever, and they try and meet as many people as they can, and then they come in, they assess the situation, they figure out what would a flipper be able to sell this property for. All right, now they're going to take the 70%, the holding and the repair costs, do that whole math, and they're going to say, what is the investor's max allowable offer, the end investors, not just me as the wholesaler or you as the wholesaler. And then they're going to take an amount off of that. All right, and then they're going to offer that to the seller. All right, Mr. Seller, you have this property that's fallen down or severely dated or, has a lot of damage, or just, a property that you want to sell pretty fast for cash. I'm going to put it under contract, give you this deposit money, $100, $500, and then that's it. We made a deal. So let's take our last example. It's that $100,000 property. As the investor, I would have started my offer at 28. Then with the 32, and then My max offer would have been 40 if the seller didn't accept either one of those offers. So now, as a wholesaler, I'm starting probably at 22 or 23, and then my max is going to be 35 because I want to be able to make at least $5,000. And how do I make the $5,000 without buying the property? Once I have it under contract, I can sell my position in that contract. And if I'm a good negotiator, on top of being a good people person that can kind of source these deals and I can negotiate a good purchase price, now I can sell that to an investor that doesn't have time to chase around sellers, go to the auction and buy, properties himself, or, he doesn't want to put up bandit signs, or they don't want to, have a phone number where they're talking to all these people. They just want to go to a wholesaler and say, give me a list of properties. Well, now I add this to the list of properties that I offer, or you can offer, the wholesaler can offer. And then you might be saying, well, what if nobody buys it? Well, if nobody buys it, then you didn't do the math right, and you're charging too much. So you might lose your $100 or $500. So you just cancel the contract, and then the seller gets to keep your $100 or $500, whatever your deposit was. But if somebody buys it, they buy your position. Now you get to charge an assignment fee, and that assignment fee can be anything you want. It's a free country. I've seen anywhere from 1,000 to 5,000, depending on the property and the price ranges. Property in this price range, probably around $3,000 is fair to me. So that's another way that you can kind of break into real estate investing without going to get your real estate license, without investing a ton of money. You're going to invest a lot of time because you're going to have to talk to a lot of people. We call it prospecting for these properties. One of my friends used to say, either you got time or you got money. And if you don't have time, you better have money. And if you don't got money, you better have time. And that's kind of how you have to operate in real estate, right? When you're a brand new agent, your currency is shoe leather. Someone told me another analogy, right? I'm a wealth of analogies. So this one about the shoe leather, uh, it directly represents a technique called door knocking. And this is something that you can do as a wholesaler. What you do is you identify a neighborhood that investors are interested in, and you walk the neighborhood and you look at the houses and you say, all right, well, this house could need some love. Knock on the door and see if they're interested in selling. And if you can get them at a good price, you get that contract signed, there you go. That's your first $1,000 or your first $3,000, your first $5,000. And now once you get that first deal signed and you get that assignment fee, you reinvest it. Now you can print some postcards instead of spending that shoe leather. You spend some money. Print some postcards. I buy ugly houses. I'll buy your house any condition. Cash offer. Send them out to the neighborhood instead of knocking on the doors. You'll get about a 2% return rate on those. Then you can get another couple deals going. And you start saving that money. You can spend a little bit of it, but save a majority of it. Because the goal here is not to be a wholesaler for the rest of your life. It's to make some cash and then take that cash and actually buy a property yourself. And then we'll talk about what that entails on another episode of the Hungry Realtor Podcast. Thank you for joining me today. Make sure you follow the YouTube channel at Hungry Realtor, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. All you have to do is Google at Hungry Realtor and you'll find me. And you can always go to www.hungryrealtorpodcast.com and check out all the episodes and some great articles.